Chair, elected members, colleagues, invited guests, thank you all for being here this evening in this wonderful setting. A number of people are asking why we're here and why we're here this evening. You may recall a number of months ago we had the very exciting announcement of the signing of a contract with Comair, and when that contract was signed in Cape Town we had a similar event in the gardens of the castle. This evening what we're doing is having a parallel event, or an event to coincide with a wonderful exhibition which will open officially to the public tomorrow in France. We expect in the region of 100,000 people to file past that exhibition, which will be promoting Napoleon and Saint Helena. You'll hear about that more later on, but it's another example where Enterprise Saint Helena and tourism are trying to work with their partners on the island to promote the island as broadly and as widely as we can. Chris and his team put together 70,000 brochures which were sent to Paris for this particular event. And as you can appreciate, the following that the Napoleonic group and the website is significant. There are almost 4 million people per annum click on the Napoleon Foundation website for 2.5 minutes or more. And I think I've said it previously, if we 0.0000035% of those people that click that website come and visit us here, we'll be hitting our targets in terms of investment. I'm not going to say any more. I'm going to hand over to the acting governor, and then Chris is going to have a few words. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Niall. Mr. Speaker, elected members, guests, ladies and gentlemen, particularly warm welcome to Tim and Helen Wanacott, who I met for the first time today. I know you've had a really busy time here, packing everything in and bringing great publicity for the island, doing great work. So great to see you here this evening. As Niall says, tonight mirrors an occasion going on in Paris, and I was in touch with the governor last night, who'd had his first day in Paris, which was a very fancy dinner in the Foreign Ministry with all sorts of senior officials, including the head of the Foreign Service, the British Ambassador, and all sorts of other important officials. And he commented just how much people were interested in what was going on in Saint Helena, the legacy, and how much they knew. And of course we wouldn't have that if it wasn't for everything that we have here in terms of Napoleon. And that wouldn't happen without the work of so many people. Of course we have the Napoleonic properties, you know, here at Longwood, and the great work that's been done here. And we saw during the bicentenary, when the renovated properties were open, the great work that Michelle and the team had done, Susan and others who've been working so hard over the years to get the legacy embedded. And then of course you've got the Briars. More work was done down there, which Michelle finished around about the same time, which is a beautiful location, and most of you know we're very, very fortunate to live there. And of course then you've got the tomb, which is a fabulous location, which I'm sure all of you've seen. And some of us were privileged to be there when the Mistral and Lafayette visited, which I know the governor found one of the most moving occasions that he'd had here on the island. So it's not possible without the good work of all those people, so I think we should pay tribute to that. So thanks very much indeed. And for this evening, thanks very much to JJ for allowing the event to take place here. Thanks very much to Esh, to Niall, Chris and the team for organising it, and of course the plantation staff for doing the catering and the drinks and all the staff. Thanks very much indeed. Have a great evening.
Good evening, elected speakers, members, ladies and gentlemen and distinguished guests. You normally see me at pub quizzes, so your quiz for tonight is how far are we from Paris? In case you want to know, it's 4,486 miles. We're 7,000 miles to the south of the celebrations today for the opening of Napoleon in Saint Helena. I arrived on the island by chance or by fate almost exactly 200 years to the day Napoleon landed. I hope you won't be burying me in the woods. I have got concerned about people offering to wallpaper my house, however, but anyway, we'll try. Anyway, in tourism terms, if we're to make a tourism industry here in Saint Helena, you need your USPs, your unique selling points. The island has quite a few, but Napoleon is clearly one of our crown jewels, and he is, the whole legacy of Napoleon is going to be one of those things that drives tourism forward. We talk about, I all hope that you're a household name in your own house. Some of you here are obviously household names in Jamestown, you're household names in Saint Helena. Mr. Wanacott, so you're a household name in Britain and many countries around the world where your programs are shown. Interestingly, there are very few people that become household names globally and that span generations. Napoleon was one of those. If you look at it, you go to music, you had the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Beethoven. You go to sport, you have people like Pele, Muhammad Ali. But they're limited numbers of people. Literature, Shakespeare. But, you know, if you think about it, if you go, it doesn't matter, go from Australia to Zimbabwe, go from Brazil to China, stop somebody in the road and ask them, have you heard of Napoleon? They have. And what's more, they'll tell you what he looked like. They'll say he had the hat. So it's an image. So we are very, very lucky that we've got a global, iconic figure. And we've got these properties that you can see nowhere else in the world. That will bring tourists to come and see us. So Saint Helena may have been the last chapter for Napoleon, but perhaps he's the first chapter in us building our tourism industry. So hats off to Napoleon is all I can say. Thank you.